After I did all that to get you on camera, dude. What is up, YouTube? So I do have a fan running, so in the comments let me know if that's a really huge deal, and I'll make an effort to try to record with it off. But it is nice to have it kind of cooling down in here a little bit while I chat. Now, before I get started, no, I'm not gonna do a sponsored thing, but let's put Mickey on camera, because that's the question every time I put on a video. Where is Mickey? So this is one of Mickey's favorite spots. He loves to be up here on top of the white cabinet. And that's his jam. Also, now he can get from the cabinet, I need more paper towels, ignore that, he can get to this cabinet, and he can get to this shelf. And I don't think I showed you guys the false wall. I promise videos are going to come on all this stuff. And over here we have the continuation of the cat run, which is also holding my bike. He can get to this shelf, which was already there. I did replace the cat hammock with this. This was a set of 3 shelves that I just used to fill in the spaces so that he could have a complete track across the top. And so there we are. And back up here to Mickey, who you can barely see because he put himself in darkness above us all. Alright, back to business and the question of this video, and a question I'm getting a lot, which is, when am I going to travel? When am I going, and where am I going? Well, the when will affect the where. I thought, to be quite honest, I was going to be totally done with the storage unit part of this build last week. And that did not happen. This week I've pretty much finished up things that require quote-unquote construction. I still need to redo my plumbing to put it in the place where I want it to be, and there are some elements of that I don't want to get into this video because I want to do a separate video on it. I still need to run my propane lines for everything from my heater, the stove. Right now only the stove is hooked up to my propane, and I still need to run propane lines for 2 more things basically. So there's the water, there's the propane, and right now I have functional electricity, but I need to go back and clean all that up, get rid of some cables. And I do not, and that's the other piggyback question on this, when am I going to tour the box truck? And the answer is when I get to the end of that list. And you might be like, well, is that list ever going to end? Maybe by the end of this month. I don't see it going beyond this month, because honestly the list is going away. It's going away faster than I thought it would go away, but it is going away. But right now, things that I can do once I move out of the storage unit, I'm saving those for after I move out the storage unit. And right now I'm concentrating on moving out of the storage unit, because that is the barrier between me having to stay in parking lot life and being able to move on to traveling a little bit, to getting out of this area, because I like this area, but I'm sick of it. Not because there's anything wrong with it, it's just that I've been here too freaking long. And I'm ready to go out and, you know, really test this box truck on the road. And the other thing that I wanted squared away before I left was the conversion to motorhome status, which happened yesterday. So as of yesterday, I am officially a motorhome, and that I didn't really want to get into that story until I'd actually completed the process, because I started it a month and a half ago. And I don't mean starting building the box truck. So I went online and I looked up the process for conversion to a motorhome in California. And so what I did was I had to print this form offline, which then the DMV told me I didn't need, but whatever. It was weird. I tell you, it took a couple of visits to the DMV to get this done. And not before we go, oh, well, California's so horrible and hard to do things, blah, blah, blah. It was a weird story. So I honestly, at the time, I still had my mattress on the floor. I hadn't even constructed my bed yet. registration was going to come due in June, and I didn't want to pay commercial registration if I could convert over to motorhome. And so I was at least trying to get to that point by June. So it was about maybe like a week and a half before my registration was due. I went down to the DMV like super early. What I learned in the Bay Area really, really early on is you do not go to the DMV in the middle of the day. If you go at the time that they open, you might get in by the end of the day. But I also learned to go outside of the major cities to some of the more far out counties. So I personally decided to go to Fremont, California's DMV, which I was glad, because when I went back the second time, the line was really short to a surprising degree to me, because I have never gone to the DMV and not had the line wrapped around the building in the Bay Area. Like in Maryland, as long as I went during business hours, even if I went around like middle of the day, I still got in to see somebody. Now I might have had to sit around for a while, but I definitely got in to see somebody and take care of things in a reasonable amount of time. That was not happening in the Bay Area. I learned it was like a concert. You needed to take a stool. You needed to get there like 2 hours before they opened in the morning. Like I would go into the parking lot when it was dark, take a nap, pull up my stool about 2 hours before open, set it up, and be sitting in front of that door on previous occasions. But and that was before I had a vehicle, so I was really, you know, at the mercy of a different situation when I first tried to convert my license over. And then after I at least had a car, it got a little bit easier, but I was still showing up super early. But anyway, that's way in the past, and I've kind of confused a couple of stories there. But I've learned my lesson about always going early. Like, be there at least an hour before business hours if you expect to get anything done. So the first time I went, I had the mattress on the floor. I hadn't built the bed yet. I hadn't built a lot of things yet that are in here now. I bought a porta potty, and I had the sink in and working with the same temporary plumbing setup that it still kind of has right now. I've made a little tweaks, but not the final tweaks to where I want it. But point being, I had this really simple little water pump system, so the sink actually worked. I had a porta potty that I bought from a marine store, and marine stores, oh my goodness, I didn't know a marine store exists. I just went online looking for a local store that might have a porta potty that I could buy and return. And so I found this store called Marine West, and I went in there, and there was so much useful stuff for van life. So look up marine stores in the area, because some of the stuff that sometimes I can only find on Amazon, like I can't find in local stores, like even their electric section for like hookups for my electrics, is so much better than any other store I've been in. But rewinding back, I went to Marine West, bought a porta potty, a little porta potty, put it in here. So I put the porta potty in here, I had the mattress on the floor, and I had a working sink so that I could show, and I've had some sort of rigged up working electricity for a while. I've just sort of tweaked it along the way, and thank goodness I have a Jackery. This is not a plug. This is saying by having a power station, I was able to quickly tweak and use the electricity as I needed to along the way in the build, as I was living in here before it was really fully organized as a home. So I take the truck down to the DMV, and the guy didn't even come in here and test the sink. He literally glanced through the door, he saw a sink, he saw a porta potty, he saw the mattress, and checked me off for all that stuff in like 2 shakes of a leg. And then he started looking for certain stickers on the body, because he needed that information to complete the new registration process. Well, he said he couldn't find the federal sticker, and because he couldn't find the federal sticker, and he like was looking for it, even though he seemed a little bit airheaded, I'm gonna be honest. He couldn't find a federal sticker. He was like, I'm gonna give you this form. You need to go to the California Highway Patrol and get a VIN verification, which cost me nothing. It was $0 to get it. You just can't just go. You have to get it by referral from the DMV. But what the DMV thinks is a referral and what the California Highway Patrol thinks is a referral seems to be two very different things. Now, other people have had a much smoother process than me. Some of this may be because I have a commercial grade vehicle. It could not be in California a personal vehicle ever. It could go from commercial status to motorhome status. There was no middle line where I was just some random person owning a box truck. And so that was the only way that I could flop over the tags. I had to go from commercial to RV. Endgame. Nothing in the middle where it's just a box truck I randomly owned for non-commercial use. I could own it for non-commercial use, but it was still a commercial truck and had to be registered and insured such in California, at least based on what I was told. So that's how it was set up. And a lot of people have told me it's been really, really simple for them to be honest. They did exactly what I did. They got the porta potty, they had a mattress, they had done nothing to build it out. In fact, they were planning to take all that stuff out and do the actual build, but they did that just to go down to the DMV and get the conversion, and it happened in the same day, and it was really easy. And it's not for this one sticker. The same would have been the case for me, but of course, I don't know, the universe doesn't want me to do things the easy way. And so I then ended up calling the California Highway Patrol. You have to get an appointment, and they did not have an appointment for almost a month and a half later. And so I just waited. I went back to building out the box truck, moving forward, etc., and just waited. Get down here today to the California Highway Patrol. The officer comes out and says, the federal sticker is right here, and it's literally a sticker he looked at. And so they're just annoyed because apparently DMV hasn't been doing a good job in general. And so they've been bogged down with a lot of these unnecessarily. But either way, she was like, I'm not going to send you back without the paperwork you need. She was really friendly, loved Mickey. Mickey is just a man. Like, he makes friends with everybody. I wish I was as charismatic as Mickey. Looked at the truck, took the necessary information, and completed a VIN verification just so I could go do what I needed to do. So yeah, she was really cool, great officer. And I have now the VIN verification paperwork, and hopefully I'm going to go to DMV tomorrow, and all my information is still in the system, the guy said when I left, but that was a month and a half ago. So the woman gave me the VIN verification. I took it down to the DMV. It took me a couple of days because, again, I wanted time to go there in the morning. So it literally was like super simple at that point. All I had to do was just kind of stand there. And like there was an extra form they had me fill out, which was just for the new registration. Because I'd already paid my registration, the payment rolled over. So I didn't have to pay like any kind of fresh registration fees or anything like that. They gave me new tags that were non-commercial tags. So I have non-commercial tags on the vehicle now. So now I just need to get RV insurance. I currently am with Progressive. I don't know about people's experience with them as an RV provider specifically. So if anybody has thoughts on that, I might just call Progressive and ask about switching the box truck over from commercial to RV. So I've converted legally the box truck into an RV, which was a big thing I wanted out of the way before I traveled, and I want to make sure I have roadside assistance and some security measures in place. I want to go to a mechanic. I always like to get a fresh mechanic's eye on it before I do any kind of long-term travel, but all that stuff is going to cost me money. But I'd rather spend that money than have an issue down the road. This is still an old truck, and it's been a while since in March when I bought it, it saw a mechanic. But even still, before I get back on the road, I want to see a mechanic. I want to, have professional eyes, do some checks, and make sure I'm good to actually travel, so that I have at least done as much as possible to make sure when I took my van across the country, like completely across the country, when I'm doing a short trip, I don't worry about it so much. But before I went to Oregon, when I had to go to Oregon for work, and then COVID took my job away. And when I went across the country, both of those times, before I went anywhere, I got a check on the vehicle. And even with that, when I went to Oregon in my minivan, my freaking radiator blew out on me on the way there. Now, the good thing was I was in Oregon when it blew out. So the fact that you know, my radiator died in the destination is possibly the best way to have a terrible thing happen. Yeah, so that's sort of like a big thing that was in the way of me traveling that is no longer in the way. And the things that are left, sorry I'm rambling here, is paperwork type things. So I need to get new insurance. I want to make sure roadside assistance is covered in that insurance. My priority is not saving the most money. It is being able to save myself down the road, if that makes any sense. If an insurance provider costs a little bit more, but I'm gonna get, you know, that extra protection, that's more important to me than just the price point, because just chasing price point has screwed me over more than helped me. I want to make sure my home has the most protection on the road. I don't want to spend the most money, but I'm not after the least money for least money's sake, because I always feel I've had so many experiences where that cost me more down the line than it saved me in the immediate. And you can't afford what you can't afford. So they're like, when I first got the truck, I just had liability. I did not have full coverage because I wanted what I could get away with financially what I had. And I knew I wasn't going to be doing any big travel. I was just going to be puttering around town while I worked on building the box truck. But now that I'm actually going out, I want to make sure that I have full coverage, roadside assistance, and check the vehicle out. And that may take some money. So the answer to when I can travel is also based on, after I do those things to feel safe to travel, what do I have to actually do the travel? And so once those two questions are answered, which they're not, that's stuff I need to start working on early next week, that will define when I can travel, which I really want to do. Like, I wanted to be starting to get out of here this week. Like, this week I just wanted to be, you know, tying up those last few things to get out of here, and that's not where I am because I'm still not out of the storage unit. So everything goes back to that storage unit. As far as construction, I am pretty much done. There's nothing I can't do living completely in the box truck. The things I want to do, I could take on the road with me and do down the road. I don't have to do them right this second. As far as touring the van, I want to do it in a pretty place. Like, I love the video tour I shot of the Chevy Express because I was in a place where I liked shooting it. I don't want to do it in the middle of a Home Depot parking lot. I don't want to do it at the storage unit. I really want to go somewhere nice. Like, I don't have the prettiest box truck in the world, but I put a lot of heart, soul, and hard work into this, and I don't want to just throw together a tour for the sake of throwing together a tour. I like how I did it when I got my Chevy Express. I did not do it right away. The first time I toured my Chevy Express, I had gone to Utah. I had this really cool little boondocking spot. It was quiet. I could just focus on touring. I wasn't looking over my shoulder, hoping that security wasn't going to like come tap me on the shoulder, even though that rarely ever happens during the day when I'm just hanging out in the parking lot. But I still have to worry about those things. When I shot my minivan tour, it was a little bit iffy. I had fun doing it, but I had to go to 2 different parks. So I shot half of it at a Golden Gate Park over in San Francisco, and then I shot the other half at this other park. So I really want to do it in a nice place where like I'm enjoying the process of shooting it, and giving it as much love as I gave like the build itself, to really show, you know, what I've done. Like, it's not the best. Believe me, if I brought you guys in this truck, I could immediately start pointing out about 35 mistakes that I've made, because I just dived in, and there's so much of this that I've never done before, and like, you know, you know, the day before I was going to do it, or the week before I was going to do it, or whatever, like, I was watching a bunch of videos on it. Or when I first bought the BoxTruck, I was researching specific things that I wanted to do, and some of them were successful and some of them weren't, and some of them were revised over time. And some stuff I knew how to do, like I'd done some construction in theater, but the thing about construction for theater is it needs to last the run of a show. The thing about construction for something that you want to live in, it is completely different, because that stuff, you know, you want it to last the amount of time that you were going to live in the vehicle. So like with a theater thing, if you're never going to go behind it, it could just look pretty from the front, and the back can kind of be rough and ugly, because all the audience is seeing is this. Unless it's like a turntable or those situations. But you can make those adjustments based on what an audience is actually going to see, what actually affects the story, what parts of construction are relevant to that. And with something you're actually going to live in, there are completely different ways that you have to approach things, like, you know, making sure my cabinets were secure enough that if I go down a bumpy road, which they've been on a couple of bumpy roads, and they're not going to fall off the wall. That's even different from building for something that's going to stay still. And even then, especially in California, like, everything is built to earthquake code. So it is sort of a different kind of thing. The basic skills of fastening, cutting, and all that stuff, and I am terrible at cutting, measuring. I can put stuff together in the right shape, and measuring, cutting, man, if I can get somebody else to do it. Like, that was my favorite thing about Ashley once she started helping me with some of this stuff, was like, she can measure and cut it, I'll put it together and fasten it. But this is all off the subject of travel. So this was, I wanted to be a little more concise about this. I really should start writing scripts or something, or making myself a list. But the things in the way of me traveling is wrapping up things at the storage unit, which at this point is getting rid of trash and finding places to donate things. Now, some stuff is very easy. I can put it in a bin and take it down to Goodwill if I want to. It's nothing all that special. I mean, like I said, there was one thing that's really worth rehoming. I would say there's more like 3 or 4 things that's worth like actively trying to rehome. I don't know I could take to a Goodwill. There's also a store in Berkeley called Urban Ore, and they take some stuff, and I could just take a lot of stuff there as well. But my priority is to no longer have the storage unit, because the storage unit is my big tie to not being able to move. And that's what I'm going to focus on, not like my remaining little projects, because they impact me, and sort of me feeling done enough to even shoot a van tour, more than impact my ability to travel, because I'm set up enough to travel. And the stuff that I have left, you know, I could sit it on the floor in the corner and it'll annoy me that it's there, but it doesn't affect me moving. I don't know that I have anything else for this video. This wasn't a great subject video. I wasn't like, you know, teaching you guys anything or talking about anything in specific. It was just sort of me rambling about this question, because it comes up a lot, because a lot of people are now seeing the BoxTruck and like, they're like, well, why can't you leave? It looks done to me. It looks done. Yeah, like they don't understand why, you know, I'm still tied here, and I'm not going to leave with a storage unit I'm paying for. It's not worth the cost. And so the quickest way I can not have things that need to be stored is sort of my priority right now. And once that's out the way, I can just be free enough to move. But also, before I'm free enough to move, now that I have my legal motorhome status, I need to get insured differently. I need to make sure I have roadside assistance that's going to cover this vehicle. I have AAA, I don't have AAA plus RV, and all I'm going to do is switch it over. So those are the things that are in the way of me traveling and getting on the road, and you know, getting out there and getting to have some fun with this home that I've built on wheels. Alright, that's all I got for this one. By the way, this is the greatest investment that I've made during the build. It is a 6 battery charger. I'm gonna just talk about this real quick. This is not sponsored by Ryobi, but it's a 6 battery charger. I'm missing one of my 5 batteries right now. I had 3 of these little batteries, and they were dying quick on some of my more heavy duty powerish tools, and so I ended up getting 2 of these, even though they were expensive. And I had to talk myself into allowing it, especially after buying this 6 battery charger. I used to have a 1 at a time charger, and I was not getting recharged as fast as I'd like. I love that this has an indicator on it. It's a bigger battery. It lasts way longer. A lot of times I would get through a day with just these 2 without even touching these, but I still had these as backup on the days where I did run these down to the ground. And this is another situation where it was like, it hurt to spend that money, and it was so hard to justify it because I already had 3 batteries and a battery charger. But I'm so glad I did, because so many things would not have gotten done if I hadn't just bit the bullet and bought this 6 battery charger. And like, I, especially at the beginning, did not have enough access to power to use plugged in power tools, and so the cheaper ones to rent were the plugged in ones, but then I didn't have the power to use that. So yeah, this thing saved the build. And so sometimes, I just want to say this real quick before I sign off, sometimes the cost of a build isn't just the materials, it's stuff like this. And the 6 battery charger and these 2 beefier batteries, like, saved my build. Period. Alright. That's a weird way to end the video, but hopefully pray for me that I can be efficient in this upcoming week and that I'll get on the road soon. One of the reasons I think that hammock was never going to work out is this cat he just seems to relax more on these hard surfaces. Like, he has soft surfaces he could be sleeping on instead, but nope, here he is on the top of the cabinet, sleeping on a hard surface. So, I'm glad I went ahead and got these shelves, because, man, he seems to actually use this whole system now to get around the truck. Like, he loves it. This is a nightmare. This is the kind of stuff that's still waiting to get all cleaned up. Everything works, but this is too much, so I gotta clean this up. So guys, I really am looking for help from you guys now about RV insurance providers, and specifically people who not only have had good experiences with certain RV insurance providers, but specifically providers where they've done their own RV or van conversion and got RV insurance on it. Like, are there providers that you prefer, don't like as much? Like I said, I'm currently with Progressive, but I've never had them as an RV insurance provider, so I don't know what that sort of experience would be like. I've been thinking about Good Sam, and I've also been suggested State Farm, so I'm open to more suggestions for RV insurance providers specifically, and people they've had a good experience with when you've done an RV conversion specifically. Alright, time to turn it around and talk about that YouTube business. As you know, when you please the YouTube algorithm, this channel has a better chance of surviving. So your likes count, your subscribes count, watching the video from beginning to end count. All these things count, all these things help, and all these things are appreciated. But still, I always like to end the video with a special shout out to the people who support me on the YouTube memberships and Patreon platform. Thank you so much for your extra support. It means everything. All right, see you next time.